that such a number of people have decided to join us for our first clinic of 2021 and our first ever virtual clinic. So we hope it goes well and smoothly for everybody. So the program tonight will be that Kathy Camp Davidson will do her presentation on overcoming performance anxiety, and that will be followed by presentation of the 2020 High Point Awards and the introduction of a new and enhanced High Point program for 2021. I think that you'll like the changes that the board has worked on for the past several weeks. And I think that it'll be a big improvement to the program. It makes it more exciting and more accessible to people. So that said, let me quickly introduce Kathy Camp Davidson, who's our presenter tonight. Kathy was born in Peyton, Colorado, and she grew up with horses, and she participated in trail riding club, 4-H, Western pleasure, horsemanship, and trail tests, as well as other events. But her professional life is in music, and she's a teacher. So currently, Kathy is serving as a substitute bassist for the Colorado Springs Philharmonic, the Colorado Springs, the Chamber Orchestra of Colorado Springs, and a freelance musician. In addition, she's a drama, band, and choir teacher at Hanover Junior High School and is the owner and performer for Tempest String Ensembles. And she also plays old-time fiddle with her husband. So looking at this array of things that she does, I think she probably has plenty of opportunity for performance anxiety. I know that I would. So Kathy, thank you for joining us, and thank you for doing the presentation tonight.
Great, thank you so much, Pam. It's so great to be with everyone. I've been looking forward to this for some time. We organized it probably about 6 or 8 weeks ago, and I've been very much looking forward to speaking to all of you. Before we get started, I want to let you know we are recording this presentation for future access for different clubs. So if you don't want your image to be captured, you have the ability to stop the video. You can also mute yourself. Both of those controls are at the lower left side of your screen. There's a mute button and also a stop video button if you don't want your image to be captured. We also will have a transcript available with all the screens. I sent that over to Celia, so she'll be able to share that with you. In case we do have technical problems, sometimes the internet gets dropped, sometimes there are uninvited guests that come in, we'll shut down the meeting and send out a new link for everyone. Hopefully we won't have to do that, but in that case, that's what we'll do. So I am a musician, a teacher, a horse lover. I just wanted to share some of my experiences with auditioning. My main teacher when I was in graduate school is the author of The Inner Game of Music, based on the inner game of tennis, and has a lot to do with dealing with performance anxiety. I've also drawn some of my information from Don Green, who is a professional sports psychologist. He helps Olympic athletes and others with improving their game and getting to that optimal performance. But before we get to all the meat of that, I wanted to share something with you that happened to me later in my professional career. It was September 11th, 2001, the infamous day. The Colorado Springs Philharmonic had a symphony concert planned that night. We had our rehearsals all week long, and Yo-Yo Ma was going to be our guest artist. Oftentimes the symphony will engage a top-level performer such as that for a fundraising event. Well, after the events of the day, our entire program had to change. You know, it was going to be this uplifting and all this fun cello music. Well, due to the events of the day, we had to change our entire program. Yo-Yo Ma got stranded in Denver. Somebody had to go drive to get him. And so it was kind of a stressful day to say the least. But we made it, and we made it happen. Yo-Yo Ma did his wonderful concert at the beginning. It was soulful, wistful, thoughtful, beautiful music as usual. And then the second half of the program, typically it's just the orchestra and the soloist goes on to do what they need to do, or they leave for the day. Well, you know, we're getting ready for our second half. The lights dim and we're warming up and we're ready to play. And suddenly this cellist comes in and sits down right in front of me. And I think, oh my goodness, what an unprofessional thing to do. Who is this? It must be a substitute. I don't know who that is. And when we started playing, I noticed how he moved very much when he played, and I realized it was Yo-Yo Ma sitting directly in front of my instrument. Oh my gosh, I lost it. Immediately, I started panicking. I'm like, here is this world famous cellist in front of me, and I started missing notes. I freaked out. It was not a good thing, but here we are. I'm going to show you these screens here and do my presentation so that you will see what's happening. Now, while I'm doing this, you're going to notice that up in your, just for your FYI, up in the upper right-hand corner of your screen, you have, hang on, I can't talk and do this at the same time. Here we go. Up in the upper right-hand corner of your screen, you'll see that there's some different views. You can show grid view, smaller view, and then speaker view to keep that into a thumbnail. So this is what happened to me. I'm a bass player, and you can see there's Yo-Yo Ma in the front of me, and I freaked out. I would have performed better probably had I been loaded. So even with all of this, you know, information that I have, it still came upon me suddenly. But knowing this, that it's not a disease, but it's normal energy that happens when there's stressful situations. We know it kind of as a fight or flight syndrome. It's an evolutionary response to something stressful. But know that you can use this energy and adrenaline in a positive and productive way. Just know that there are some techniques that you can use to focus this energy and to control your thoughts. We also need to remember for our specific purposes that horses are very sensitive animals. We know this. They can sense our stress. They can feel your adrenaline. They can feel your heartbeat. We all know this. So it's even more important for us to be able to convey positive thoughts to our horses. So I came across this quote, and I did a little bit of digging in and found out that the woman who did this research was from the UK. She did some studies and found out that this is what happens in horses, that in a herd they can synchronize with each other. Their heart rate goes up. If one of their heart rates goes up, the rest of the herd senses that. So they can definitely sense our own fear. A bit stiff, perhaps the result of some overthinking. So our goals for tonight for this workshop is to strive for what we would call optimal performance. Keeping in mind there's not such a thing as a perfect performance. I've learned that. I strove for it and wanted to be a perfect performer, but really there's no such thing. All we can do is hope for the optimal performance. And this really comes from the athletic field as well, that they know that given the circumstances, how they feel, what they ate, there's so many different variables that we can shoot for optimal performance by controlling those things. To reach our best potential, our highest potential, we need to remain positive versus negative, focused versus scattered, and using that adrenaline, that energy, instead of freaking out like I did. So we'll go through these 3 stages. We'll focus on these 3 topics as we go through assessment, figuring out what your strengths and weaknesses are. We're all a little bit different. And I'll give you guys time to go into breakout rooms to talk about that. We'll talk about some different tools that you can use that you can put to work to start focusing your energy. And the last one is trust, which is also kind of a big deal. So now what I'd like you to do is put you all into breakout rooms. I need to get back to my screen here so that I can get to the breakout rooms. Here we go. So what I'm going to do is set up some breakout rooms automatically, and I would like you guys to talk about what you consider to be your strengths and what you consider to be your weaknesses. I'm going to maybe do like groups of, how about 3 to 4, and it will automatically put you into rooms, and hopefully this will be like probably about 3 to 5 minutes or so, and I'll let you know when the time is up. All right. Looks like there's just a couple of people waiting to join in. So specifically, I kind of want to share out now as soon as everybody gets back in, specifically thinking about what works, what hangs you up.
Really hard to get to study.
Thinking about what's, yeah. So we'll wait until Kathy Beekman.
My picture's back on, so my picture off again.
Stuck in the room. 2 seconds. 1 and close. Okay. There we go. All right. So back to this. This is a cute cartoon that I just thought was funny. So let me have one person from each group kind of share out what works, what doesn't, what you feel like your strengths and what your weaknesses are. And you can just unmute yourself and speak. Let's maybe have a person from each group. I think there were five breakout rooms. How about let's start with breakout room 1, a spokesperson that maybe share out what was talked about in your group.
I'll go ahead and share. I can't remember. I apologize. I didn't make note of which number room I was in. So but I will go ahead and share for our group. I think a theme that came up was just a strength was, I think we all had quite a bit of writing experience, but a weakness was just our kind of gradual decrease in confidence and fear of getting hurt and things. You know, a couple of us had we'd all either had surgeries or injuries or things like that. And just, you know, those things I think moved to the front of our mind more quickly than they did maybe 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So that was a weakness I think shared for all of us.
That's a big deal. Yeah, absolutely. Anybody else want to share some things out that came up in
Sure. So in our group, I think that, you know, our strengths are that we were comfortable with our horses. Some new riders, but have the confidence to continue riding. And then our biggest weakness was the fear of what other people think. So whether it's your trainer or whether it's, you know, somebody in the audience or someone that you're performing for, that you concentrate just on that person and what they think.
Absolutely. That fear of judgment is there, definitely. Anyone else have some thoughts to share out?
Hi, this is Peggy.
Hi.
And my group decided that mostly their strengths were time in the saddle. And I think what we heard most on their weaknesses they felt were their desire for perfection.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a big deal. I mean, after all, we spend lots of time and money and practice and want it to be just perfect. So that's definitely a concern.
This is Kendra. In our group, we talked, I think all of us have pretty nice horses. The one main theme was staying focused instead of multitasking like we all do as in our professional world and as moms and such, is really focusing, having that focus on your horse and paying attention to what you're doing, along with, you know, just having ride time.
Right, right. Right. I love to hear all these different perspectives, things that I hadn't thought about before. So this is great. Who else?
This is Celia. So I was in group 5. So a strength from our group was commitment. We were a very dedicated group. A weakness, though, at the same time was preparedness for competition, because there were a lot of other things pulling us in other directions. And they may even have been horse related, but you know, being overwhelmed with maybe multiple horses at different stages and doing different disciplines, that then when you do decide to show, it's a little overwhelming. And
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, that makes sense. You feel like your time isn't just dedicated to that one thing, but several different things. And of course, there's always, you know, injuries and things that happen that throw you off guard. So, yeah. Good. Anyone else have some thoughts to share that didn't look over?
This is Pam, and I was in group 4. And what we discovered is for some people, their strength is also their weakness, or what they consider a weakness is a strength. And the example of that is that one rider said when she gets in the arena, she's so focused that if people are hooting and hollering outside the arena, she doesn't hear it because she's so focused. And so she felt that was a weakness, but on the other hand, it's probably a strength as well. And then another thing is our self-talk. For example, going into the arena and saying, I'm really off balance, and so this is going to be tough when I do an extended gait. Instead of that, your self-talk should be, I've got this. I'm ready, I've got this, and I can ride straight and not be off balance. So those were some things that we came up with.
Yeah, interesting. Yep. Yeah, all those things come into play. That self-talk is a big deal because our minds are constantly thinking, right? And just to be able to control that or focus it is a skill into itself. Anybody else have stuff to share out, or go on? All right, great. Yeah, I'm more than happy to have people jump in. I think people are allowed to just come in. I don't have to admit, so yeah, no problem. So good. This is great to hear because everybody just like I said, everybody has their own feelings about what their strengths and weaknesses are. Focus, worry about being heard, all those things are things that come in as that self-talk as we go. So as we go forward here, I'm going to talk a little bit about centering. Like I said, this will be recorded. There's a lot of words in here, and some of you probably have practiced meditation. Maybe some others have not. I'm relatively new to it, but it's helped me to focus my thoughts as well. Teaching is a performing art as well. As my friend Lois always says to me, it's a performing art, and it really is, because you never know what's going to happen that day. You can plan everything as well as you can, and sometimes things throw you off guard. So I have been making it a habit of meditating. Sometimes people come up to you when you're nervous and say, breathe, breathe. Well, unless you know how to do that and focus it, it's not always the most helpful thing. So I would look into some meditation apps. The one I use is Headspace, but there's several others out there. You can go to yoga classes and learn how to do it, but basically it is breathing in a purposeful way. And each time you breathe in is thinking about different things. The first one being relaxing your tension. The second breath is focusing on your core and your chi, which is basically two inches below your navel and 2 inches inward. And by the way, this is where martial arts fighters fight from. They don't use their head, they use this chi. And on the third breath, it's really about a positive word, a process cue that we'll talk about a little bit later. It may actually work. We might be able to train our horses to do it as well. So centering is one of the tools. Here are several more tools that we'll talk about in a little bit more detail. Mental rehearsal, which some of you I'm sure have already done, is imagining your performance in your mind, away from the horse, if you will. There's an anecdote I'd like to share quickly about this. This involves a famous musician who lived at the turn of the last century. He was living in Paris in the aftermath of World War II. He was waiting for his visa to come to America to continue his performances, and the place where he was staying in Paris was so cold. They had no heat, no water. Sound familiar? Like Texas is going through right now. The winter was so cold he had to stay in bed most of the day, but he had all these performances coming up. He said still in bed he wanted to practice but couldn't. He imagined going through his whole repertoire in his mind over and over, and he practiced to improve the trouble spots just in his mind. And when it finally went to the performances, he said they went off without a hitch, thinking, okay, this is one way to practice. So this is something that we can all learn from and practice in our own way. Process cues come into play when you do your meditation. That last little step is to think of a cue. This, when we were talking about all that self-talk that happens in your mind, a process cue helps you to quiet all that, to think of one or two positive words or an image that will help you to focus on just that one thing rather than all the talk that happens. Of course, replacing negative thoughts with positive, and I'm notorious for this. I always think, what's going to happen? What's going to go wrong? You know, the old saying, plan for the worst, hope for the best. And I'm totally guilty of this, but trying to replace those negative with positive thoughts. Simulation training is also something that athletes do, trying to recreate that tension that happens, and also starting a training diary each time you train. This is what athletes do, what they practiced, how they did, what they're going to work on the next time. So I would like to do just another quick set of breakout rooms to talk about with each other again what your rituals are. Pam, you brought up how someone in your group said that they focus very much, so much so that nothing outside comes in to interfere. Maybe some of you all have your own rituals about how you prepare for a performance or a show. And this doesn't, by the way, it doesn't always just apply to a show. I know there's people among us like me that are trail riders, and you want to go and have this glorious experience, but something happens, or you have a fear of, you know, looking down or the ice or something like this. These are things that you can talk about within your own groups about what works. Imagine your ideal performance. So I'll have you guys break out into rooms, maybe just a couple of minutes, 3 to 5 minutes again. So let me go ahead and set up these breakout rooms for you again and open all rooms and give you about 5 minutes or so to talk about your rituals, what you do before a show.
I'm not sure where, am I with my breakout group? I'm not sure where I'm supposed to be. This,
Oh,
this
okay.
is Ann.
Oh, hi. Let me see.
And I don't see the breakout rooms coming back up.
I see some people have joined their rooms. Is this Pamela? You're not in a room?
No, how do we rejoin a room?
It says you're unassigned. Let me assign you to a room. I can give you, let me assign you to breakout room 2. There you go. Did that work? There you go.
Okay, and I think I'm still looking for a breakout room.
Okay. Let me see if I can just assign you. Is this Karen, you said?
No, this is Anne.
Anne, okay. Anne. Well, I don't see you on my list here. I see somebody in breakout room 4. There's just one of you. Let me see. I'll tell you what, let me try this. And I don't see it.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's all right. I'll just wait until everybody comes back and listen to them.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't.
That's okay.
I'm not seeing it. So one of those technical things. Good. Well, you can talk to me about it. What do you do for a ritual? Like, what kind of shows do you do?
I'm a judge and a trainer, so I
Okay.
do a lot of different shows and events and disciplines.
Wow.
I don't know if I've been a professional since 1980.
Okay.
I can remember very early on really listening to Janet Savoy, who is a dressage writer, and she put out a series of, this was way back when we listened to tapes, and put out a series of tapes about speaking to yourself in a positive voice versus a negative voice, and say things like, if you have a horse that's having lead problems, don't keep on saying to yourself, don't take the wrong lead, don't take the wrong lead, because what your inner voice hears is wrong lead, wrong lead, wrong lead. Instead, speak to yourself in positive voices, like, for instance, take the correct lead, take the correct lead, take the correct lead. And then your center, all it hears is right lead, or correct lead, correct lead, correct lead. And so I think I really started listening to Janet back in the 90s. And even though it's become relatively, I create theme words for myself depending on what the horse and myself need at the time. Like I will, on a horse that has a tendency to be a little bit either mechanical or haphazard sometimes in their follow through, I'll say to myself before a class or before a test, I'll say grace or graceful. And I just keep on repeating the word graceful to myself. And I think that not only then does it help me command my own movements, but I think the horse responds to my impression of grace.
Right. Yeah. That's really powerful. I think that so many of those things that we were taught back then are just definitely applicable today, and people have kind of forgotten those. I'm here trying to, looks like Kathy Beekman is having trouble. Ask for help. I'm going to have to join her.
Go ahead. Go ahead. That's all right.
Oh, okay.
We can follow up.
Yeah, once we get back. Hello, Kathy.
Yeah, I didn't go to a breakout room.
I saw that you were in your own room, and I'm like,
Yeah.
What happened here? So what I'll do, it's just about, I'm thinking there's only like a couple of more minutes left, so I'm going to close out these rooms once I get back to the once I get back to my spot here. But we were just talking about like mental rehearsal, what you typically do before a show. Get yourself prepared. Do you have any rituals or anything that you do?
Ride the patterns in my head the night before.
Yeah, yeah,
That's the big thing.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's, I think mental rehearsal is a pretty big deal. It's one part of the thing, but I was talking to Anne and I did not see her on the list. So she's like, well, I can't find my breakout room, but it seems like mostly it worked. I'm kind of new at this format. In school, we use Google Meet, so it's a little bit different controls.
Yeah.
So anyhow, I think I'll go back out. It's probably about time and I need to get moving along here. So I'll get everybody back together and we'll see what they all came up with.
Sounds good.
Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and broadcast a message. Close all room. Yeah, here's what happened. You were in just one room by yourself and I don't know if people decided to join their own or what happened, but
Yeah. Who
anyhow,
knows?
we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
See you in the main room here.
Okay.
All right. Get everybody back together here and get my controls here. So what did we come up with? I think everybody is back. Where is my control here?
Still talking, but it just turned us off.
Somehow I lost my view of the breakout rooms, but I think most everybody is back. Good. So I kind of would like to hear a few, maybe one spokesperson from each room and find out what kind of rituals or mental rehearsal that you do before a show or before a ride.
Well, we talked about in my group, both the horsewomen I spoke with like to show up early for the shows and prefer having early ride times. And I think part of that is so you are not hanging out all day, probably stressing.
Right.
Also, and being able to spend some time with your horse and just grooming and talking to your horse and getting your horse to relax before you even go into the arena.
Cool.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah. Yeah. With my auditions, I was always kind of taught, don't take the first audition spot, but don't take the last one either. Take something in the middle where it's, you know, you have time to prepare, but the judges aren't totally tired and burned out by the end of the day.
Right. Right.
Good. Who else has something to share?
Okay, our group discussed, well, Renee was saying that she likes to go, especially she does barrel racing as well as the Western dressage, and
Right.
she likes to really just focus by herself. She says that they have like groups that go in kind of together and so forth, but she'll stay by herself and focus on herself and her horse. And, you know, and then I think we, you know, talked a little bit about positive thinking, and then just, you know, some people don't seem to really feel that they have a real ritual or everything. And they were just saying, oh, well, I'm great when I go in the arena, and when I come out, I'm really upset with it. And I just suggested, well, just think about, oh, I made a really great circle at A. Oh, I came down the center line just perfect and halted great. You know, just focus on those really wonderful things we did, whether,
Sure.
you know, and not focus on the mistakes we made.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's good advice. Good. Anyone else have stuff to share out?
I'm going to invite Melissa Page from our group to talk a little bit. She's a yoga teacher, so she's got some really good ideas.
Nice. Beautiful.
Oh, well, I'm Melissa, and as I said in my breakout room, I'm not performing or competing. I just adopted a horse last year, and I'm getting back in the saddle after a 30-some year break. But
Nice.
what I do is I really do, and I love that you were talking about this, Kathy, I focus on my breathing. I really try to do what we call pranayama breathing, deep breathing from the diaphragm up to until you kind of feel that texture in the back of your throat, and focus on connecting my breathing to my horse's breathing, which is settling. And I meditate every day, and I lead meditation too. So I find that's really helpful, and it all helps you stay present, which is what we really need to do on the back of 1,200 pounds.
Absolutely. Oh, I love that. I love hearing from you that you're an expert in this, and I'm, very much of an amateur, and I'm still learning to control these thoughts and anxieties, in kind of everyday life. So great advice, and something to think about for everyone.
Yeah, it's yoga practice, not yoga perfect.
Right.
So not really an expert, but just a little, maybe aware of it, maybe more. And I think it's the same philosophy when we're on our horses. It's every day is horse practice, not horse perfect.
Exactly. Excellent. Other thoughts, rituals, mental practice that you do?
I'll just jump on quick. One of ours, learning the pattern, was talked about. She had a great idea. Lynn did with a dry erase board, and making the letters, being able to go through that in their head. We talked about breathing, and then several of us have not competed yet, or it's been a long time. Right. So trying to muster up the confidence and the courage to give it a try again. So just getting there. But I loved the idea of dry erase board and really getting that pattern in your mind. So
right. That's a very practical thing. Just like our violinist friend or whatever discipline you're in, that mental practice is very valuable.
May I interject? Any 3-ring binder works great with a dry erase marker, so you don't need to go buy anything fancy.
There you go.
And you can use this over and over to use to practice your pattern.
There you go. I love that. I love it. Beautiful.
That would be cool. I think what I would do is just put a copy of the chord behind it.
Sketch it out.
Sketch it out.
So many great ideas. This is what I love about this breakout rooms, is there's so many great ideas and brainstorming. Other thoughts before we move along?
Oh, this is Melissa one more time. Marie,
Hi.
I thought what you said was so valuable. Do you want to share?
So I did 14 virtual tests this year. Didn't even have to leave the barn. And one of the judges that I was privileged to show under is Lynn Palm. She's like the Western dressage guru of the East Coast. And she said one thing that really can help is to go walk the test in the court. So even if you're practicing at home, to go walk that 20-meter circle on foot. So it looks so much different than when you're in the saddle. So, and then a lot of times I will walk the test even in my living room, just so that I've got the test in my mind.
Yeah, good. And that's even more like a kinesthetic thing. We have our mental practice, but the kinesthetic of actually doing it is very valuable too, putting that together. Wow, cool. Love all these thoughts and the processes. Good. Well, I feel like I should go ahead and move along here, because I know you guys have your high point presentation that you want to do, so I'll keep moving along here for all of us. So yeah, how you prepare, what you feel needs work, and noticing what's different from arena or lesson practice to the actual show, and noticing what's different between what your ideal trail ride or show is compared to what the real thing is. We all are different here. Here's the guy that I've been riding, good old Gus. He's a favorite at the barn where we ride. He doesn't belong to me, but one that I get to ride from now and then, and they all have their personalities. So another step in this toolbox that we're building here is process cues, and this is a little bit elusive. I guess it's because every single one of us has a mental picture about what's going to work for us, and it's not always the same from person to person. The way that you come up with these cues, and Melissa will be able to speak to this too, rather than having all these thoughts. Oh, and I was talking to Anne too earlier about negative thoughts versus positive, like, oh, you know, I don't want to do this, or I don't want to do that. You want to think of one word or two words that's going to work for you, like maybe float, flexible, melted chocolate. That makes me so hungry. But that might be the feel that you want to portray, and not to get too mushy, but maybe one way to think about this, figuring out what your process cue is to imagine a situation that might cause negative thoughts, like heavy when you're riding, or brace, or the horse quitting, and then turn that around to what you want to feel. You want this to be light. You want him to be flexible. You want him not to quit. So think about continuing, or whatever that cue is for you. And so many of you talked about this in your breakout rooms, and shared with me that that negative thought versus positive thinking. Here's some negative thoughts. I'm going to forget. My horse is going to shy. I'm too tense, or there's my rival. All those things that start coming through your head, and switching those thoughts to, my horse is calm. I know my stuff. I've practiced. I'm confident. And what stays in your mind, we're taught this as teachers, is to don't say don't. When you say to a kid, don't do that, that's what they think of is don't do that, or they'll think do that. It turns around somehow in your mind. So think of ways, and again, this is something different for every person. So think of ways that you can switch that over to what you want to happen, not what you don't want to happen. Simulation training is what athletes do, and this is again something that's kind of tricky for us to do with our horses. They recommend running in place to get your heart rate up to recreate that adrenaline rush that you get when you're scared or nervous or anticipating, something that's going to recreate sweaty palms, shaking. For me, as a string player, I play the string bass. If your bow is shaking, that's going to translate into the most horrible sound. But to control that, we need to think of, okay, how are we going to feel, and then how are we going to change it? So you want to recreate that situation. We do mock auditions for each other, trying to recreate what it's going to feel like to do the real audition. So you might get together a group of friends to run your pattern, maybe even dress, or run around to get your heart rate up, or whatever's going to happen. And keep in mind too, your horse is going to be in a strange place too. Maybe he's going to be calling to the other horses around, or freaking out because he doesn't know what's going on. So all of this comes into play. Try to recreate that, and then practice your preparing routine, your centering ritual, your mental practice, your process cues. Then you can practice all those things that you've come to be familiar with. Lastly, what's recommended too is a training diary. you can start this. This is another thing that athletes do, is to keep a training diary, starting with where are you now? You know, how much weight can you lift? You can translate this into your own discipline, going, okay, what's my energy level now? What am I doing well? What needs work? Check that voice in your head when you're practicing. Am I overthinking everything, or am I not thinking enough, or what's happening? What's your planned routine? Put the pressure on and then work to alleviate that. And then you might vary the structure. I'm sure you guys do this already. For musicians, it's so easy to start at the beginning of a piece, and that's all great, but by the time you get down here, that's not as well known. So we'll start at the end of a piece. Okay, today we're going to do measure 14 through 21, and tomorrow we'll do this, just to keep it fresh and to know that every part of your routine is going well. I also am a big believer in humor, as you notice from all my cartoons, that humor can be the best medicine. You can imagine sometimes, a lot of times I've heard famous musicians talk to me, or people that I've met through my career, to imagine saying, well, this is no big deal, even though it really is a big deal, but to try to tell yourself it's not a big deal, or I've done this, or to pretend like you are a famous person doing this. You've done it a million times. That kind of helps too. So lastly, I guess we've gone through all of the tools. Again, this is going to be recorded. You'll have a document that lists all of the things that we've talked about today. But lastly, and I think one of the more I guess difficult things to talk about is trust. Oftentimes we don't trust ourselves, right? We got into this horse business because we have a passion for what we do. We love horses, we love the competition, or we love the trail ride or the challenge that it presents. And I think a lot of you got into this because you feel you have the talent for it. You enjoy the process of getting the horse to that level, and yourself. But then we don't trust ourselves when it comes down to it. But know that you have done the work and you've done the practice, and you know that normal doubts and fears are going to come in to play, but you can overcome these with practice. Is it Melissa, who's the yoga instructor? As she said, it's practice, not perfect. So it's something we're constantly working on. And this performance anxiety, controlling your thoughts, is also a practice that takes time and energy. So I would like to maybe take this minute to share out some things about trust. We don't have to do breakout rooms. It looks like sometimes they worked, sometimes they didn't work so well. But if there's any of you who can talk to us, all of us, about how you've developed trust. Some of you have been doing this for years and you have developed trust in your horse, trust in your training. Go ahead and share out with us what your thoughts are.
I could just, this is Ann Judge. Hi, Catherine.
Hi.
Catherine, I just got to speak briefly because I wasn't sent to a breakout room, and then Catherine had to go fix someone else's problem, so we only had a couple of minutes to speak. But I can tell just from our couple of minutes that Catherine herself is a very good listener, because she was able to, although she had a lot of other things going on, she listened to what I said about positive voices in our heads. So anyway, I'm prefacing this trust thing. It's taking me too long, but my point is, I think that
December and January.
The biggest part about trust is acknowledging the fact that this sport doesn't just involve the heartbeat of one athlete, but it involves the heartbeat of two athletes. And so it's critically important that we listen to our partner, which is our horse, who's doing the physical bidding of our mental request. So for me, I think trust has so much to do with how we evolve as a partner who acknowledges that this is a sport that has to do with a harmonious relationship between that mount who's doing our physical bidding.
That's really well said. Yeah, there can't be enough stress put on the fact that there are two of us working together and having trust.
And they really do. I think if we all think about it, they really do tell us everything that they need. Do you
Yes.
all agree? They tell us everything. And there are some moments when we can really hear their voices, and sometimes when our voices are so loud in our own heads that we don't always hear their voices. So I think if we can continue to hone our skill at listening, they'll tell us everything that we need to do on that given day.
Right, absolutely, absolutely. And being tuned in to them is huge. Being able to listen to them, even though they can't speak, they definitely tell us. Say again?
Thank you.
Sorry,
Well,
I
I'm glad
couldn't
you're
hear
still
him.
here.
I'm not sure if somebody's talking or if they're just unmuted or whatever, but all right, well, good enough. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up because we're about an hour in now, and I was thinking it would only take about 45 minutes, but I just love listening to everyone's thoughts about this. So as soon as I realized that Yo-Yo Ma was sitting right in front of me at the concert, and my nerves attacked me, I was able to kind of center myself again and go, listen to the music and become part of that music again and not let those outside thoughts take me over. Even though they did for that moment, I was able to flow back to the beauty of the music, and my body calmed down, my mind calmed down. I was able to perform as well as I'm capable. So I think this slide sums it up. It's okay to have butterflies, just make them fly in formation. So this really does kind of, it's cute and funny, but it also tells us that we can have these thoughts. It's natural, it's purely the way we're made to have this energy, this excitement, but to be able to focus, it does take practice. And hopefully these tools, some of them will help you. There's lots of resources out there, the ones that, I like this cute, funny cartoon. Sometimes we're on a journey of our own and we have to kind of like be prepared for anything that comes along. I do appreciate your time. Here's the resources that I mentioned. There's lots and lots of things out there that will help you if you feel like you have stress that you need to take care of, or help you focus or even get to that next level. You feel like you're here but want to go to that next level. There's lots and lots of resources out there. I want to thank you so much for having me tonight. I feel like we could go on for 2 hours and we would still be learning things from each other, but I want to thank the Western Dressage Association of Colorado for inviting me tonight. Thank you so much for all of you for being here, and I hope to see you live and in person sometimes after all of this is calmed down. So I'm going to go ahead and hand this over to Bev now, who, if there's anything that you want to say to me before we head out, that would be great, but otherwise I'll go ahead and hand it over to Bev.
Thanks so much for your time.
This is Kathy Beekman, and I was wondering, will you make these slides available?
I didn't quite hear everything.
Will you make these slides available for our use?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, I sent this to I sent this over to Celia, and she's gonna, I think, post it on the websites. But if not, if it doesn't happen that way, let me know and I can just email a copy for you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Kathy.
Of course. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate your time, and I'll go ahead and hand it over to Bev. I'll see if I can make you the host, but I'm not sure if it's totally, you know, important to do it that way, but let me try to find you, and here you are.
That's great. Well,
So funny.
Kathy,
Okay.
great job. Thank you. And I just want to say I thoroughly enjoyed the conversation in my small group as well. It was nice to meet people from really all over the state, and no matter whether people are showing or just enjoying their horses on the trail, everything you said tonight was relevant to that. So thank you very much.
Of course. My pleasure.
And we just wanted to take the last couple minutes of our time together here to highlight a few people who have done an amazing job of kind of overcoming their fear, if you will, in the show ring. And so we're going to do just a quick celebration of those people. And our president, Pam Stenmark, is going to talk about that. And then we're going to talk a little bit about just some other opportunities for you guys to get connected with our organization. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here with a few pictures on it that we normally do this in person. It's going to be a little less fancy to do it this way, but we're going to go ahead and do it this way. So I'm going to go ahead and let Pam kind of describe our High Point winners for this year.
So this year we had only 6 participants, but considering what a difficult year it was to get to shows and to do just anything we wanted to do, we were happy to have that. And we have 2 people who have won 3 different awards. And so Celia Knoll won the level 2 High Point, and she also won level 3 High Point, separated by only 1 point from Mark Gilbert. And so the prizes this year are, what are they? Bridle bags.
Should I open them? Should I open them?
Sure.
Yes. So they actually got mailed to our winners this year.
Yeah. And Mark,
so should I just? Sorry.
Yes, Celia, now you do.
I don't know. Is the screen back on me? Is the screen on me when I talk? I'm not sure if I have mine set up wrong or.
Bev, you can probably take down the screen sharing of the pictures. Okay. There you are. There's Celia.
Oh, there we go. Okay. Well, first of all, I thank you. Thank you so much for WDACO and the support and the motivation and for having this program and for making this all available. It really gave me a personal goal. And in a year where a lot of opportunities were not available, this was still something that I could pursue. And it was a highlight and just a joy. I'm just gonna share this photo because I want everybody to see my beautiful little pony that that I owe it all to be honest. She's now retired from competing, and we'll see where this new journey takes me with my other horses, but she's one of a kind. So I owe it all to her. I was mailed the awards and I was told not to open anything. So that now leaves me fumbling. Sorry. A beautiful blue engraved something I'm about to find out. I believe it's a saddle cover. Is that right?
That's it.
That's gorgeous. Thank you very much. It has the logo on it. And High Point Level 3. Thank you so much. That's beautiful. And I got a new saddle, so that needs to get covered. So fantastic. Thank you. Should I look at the other one as well at this time?
Absolutely.
Okay.
For sure.
It's sort of like getting to share Christmas with you.
I know, right?
A little bit, yeah.
Woo! That is beautiful. I believe it's a garment bag. Maybe?
Bridal bag.
Oh,
Must be a
okay.
bridal bag,
So it has
yeah.
these awesome hooks
Yeah.
and it's embroidered and it's beautiful. Thank you, everybody.
Well, thank you for participating. And we'll see you.
Of course.
We'll see you participating in 2021, I'm sure.
I hope so. Thank you.
So
With
that
that,
is awesome. And congratulations. And Mark Gilbert was our other winner, and he could not join us tonight. But one thing we wanted to share with those of you who are on tonight, more information will come out in some MailChimps, is we really wanted to continue celebrating these people who are competing successfully in multiple shows with multiple judges. And they just are amazing, and especially given the uphill battle and the COVID environment and the VS environment that we've had for the last couple of years. But we really are taking an expanded view of this High Point program and call it High Point Plus, if you will. So those of you who maybe haven't been thinking, oh my gosh, I can't get in 5 shows. I don't know if I'm probably not going to be in the running for High Point. We want you to sign up and participate anyway, because what we're going to do this year is we're going to continue to award people who successfully compete in 5 shows and come out with the highest scores. But we also are going to add in several really fun kind of awards this year. And some of those we're still thinking of, but maybe the highest overall score. Maybe you don't get 5 test scores in, but you just had one really great ride. We want to celebrate that. We may do like a Silver Spur Award, where the highest combined age of your horse and rider. My horse is 23, so I can be in and compete in this one. But we wanted to celebrate all kinds of success, because one of the things, and it came out as we were talking in our small groups today, we have people who want to compete, and that is awesome. And we think that is a great way to grow and mark your progress. But there are other people who just want to get better and maybe try a few shows. And we want to try to celebrate as many different successes as we can. So we're hoping to get expanded participation and turn this into High Point plus some other things this coming year. And we're hoping the virus is going to be behind us and we're all going to be able to get out and do that this year. So hopefully we will see all of you at lots of events this year. And thanks so much for joining us tonight. We enjoyed having you. Yes, Lynn, I see your question here. You do need to join, but it's clearly marked on the website as a place to join. Right, there's a blue button right in the top middle that says High Point Plus that will take you to how to sign up for that.
So does anybody have any further questions or input? We'd love to have some input from you about the clinic or the new and improved High Point program, or whatever else you want to discuss with us.
I would just like to encourage everybody to become members of WDACO. We do a lot of fun things. It's not expensive, and it's a nice camaraderie as far as getting to know one another and share experiences with your horse. And just a fun thing. So more things like this that we can get involved with. It's, again, it's not expensive, so come on and be a member.
And if you haven't looked at the calendar, we have some really fun clinics coming up that are a divergence from what you've seen in the past. So I think you would might enjoy taking a look at the calendar and seeing what you'd like to try out this year. I've found that the clinics are fun and very informative, and I'm really looking forward to the slate this year. So thank
Pam,
you.
did you find out if we have to be a member of the WDAA to become a member of the WDACO? Did that change, or is that still the same?
Here's what it is. WDAA wants everybody to be WDAA members, but since Colorado has its own 501c3, while we encourage people to join WDAA, it's not a requirement. So if you know you're not going to go to the World Show and feel like you want to contribute to WDAA, you don't have to. But you know, our membership is $25, theirs is $35, and when you look at all the other things that we pay for memberships for our horses, even combined, they're still a pretty good deal.
Being a member of WDAA does have some benefits. I believe this year you can be a FAM member of the USEF. There are some other things that you get for the membership to WDAA. But, you know, as Pam said, you don't have to be a member of WDAA to be a member of the Colorado Association. And we certainly would love you to join the Colorado Association.
Right. And you'll see that when you look at the clinics and other programs, members of WDACO get discounts. Non-members pay a little bit more for all the clinics that we put on. So pretty soon it adds up to you might as well become a member and save the money down the road.
And I will say, if you're a WDAA member, you do have access to the WDAA Social Corral on Facebook. It's a really nice way to again, exchange ideas and to get that kind of support that you might need to get you to the next level.
Thank you, ladies. The only way I'm going to the world this year is I'm going to be a groom. Yay! For Pammy, even.
It's so much fun, and it was really fun to do it online this year too. There's been some good things that's come out of COVID.
Yeah, you know, we're learning a lot, I think, because with the virtual shows, people are enjoying those, and we're sort of learning how to cope and be more imaginative, which is a good thing. Does anyone else have things to add?
Thank you.
I want to thank all the board members who've worked hard so far this year. It's been a crunch to try to get everything organized so that we can introduce it, not only the high point, but also the calendar tonight, if you haven't already seen it. So there are a lot of things to do, and take a look at the calendar from time to time. Things are added to it every week, or potentially are added every week. So it's not a stagnant thing at all. It's a moving and developing program.
I want to say thank you for everyone to joining us tonight, and you all have a good evening and take care.
Thank you. And thanks, Kathy.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much, Kathy.
You're welcome. I'll make this video available as soon as it gets processed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy.
Have a good evening.
Thanks.
Bye.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Night.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye. I'll have to sign off at the end and
Thanks, Kathy. I really appreciate you doing this for us. It was a great program. I'm sure a lot of us enjoyed it a lot.
Of course, it's my pleasure. Take care. Have a good evening.
All right, take care.
Thanks.